Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. At the end of this month, after 7 years on the job, University of Vermont President Tom Sullivan will be stepping down. As he approaches the end of his presidency, we've asked him to reflect on his time in office and to look ahead at what's next. We're thankful that President Sullivan has accepted our invitation to join us and to share his thoughts on a wide range of issues connected to UVM. Thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations on your tenure and all that you have brought to the university.
My pleasure, Fran. It's very nice to be back here across the fence and at Channel 3 too.
As your presidency comes to an end, what have you been reflecting on most?
Well, as you note, reflecting, I have 30 days left in my term, and I have been doing some reflecting. Back in the first month I was here in July of 2012. Mm-hmm. I began having a conversation with the university community about a strategic action plan for the university. It had 4 very simple principles: affordability for our students, enhancing quality of the university at every opportunity, aligning budgets and priorities, and really focusing on the student success. And then we began discussing very quickly a comprehensive campaign, and we aligned both of those together so they were completely matched, and the priorities of the campaign were in fact the priorities of our strategic plan.
Well, let's talk about
and I've been reflecting on that.
Right, I bet you that's a lot to reflect on. So one of those things, that high priority of making education affordable, how well do you feel you've accomplished that?
Well, I think we're very pleased with what we've done there. In my 7 years as president, we've had the lowest tuition increases in the last 40 years. 45% of our Vermont students go to the university tuition free. I mentioned a moment ago that we've been engaged in a comprehensive campaign. It too will close on June 30th, and we have raised over $83 million new dollars for student scholarships and financial aid. Our students are graduating on time in 4 years. They're graduating with the lowest debt relative to our national peer institutions. So we're very happy with the amount of money that we have been able to focus on affordability and financial access for our students so that they can come to the university, be very attentive and engaged on the academic, the cultural, and the positive social experiences they can have without worrying about any debt that they may carry upon graduation. And the debt that some of them do carry, although a lot leave at graduation without any debt, is substantially lower than the national average.
Fantastic. And throughout your tenure, you stress the importance of external funding and finding that the external funds,
Yes.
and indeed you've been quite successful at that. What other things have you been able to achieve besides these helping students with affordability?
Well, we have had, as I mentioned a moment ago, a comprehensive campaign that started as I joined the university. We had a goal of $500 million. Many people thought that that was going to be impossible in Vermont. I'm happy to say that as of this week, we're right at about $575 million. We went over our commitment a year ahead of schedule. We'll close that campaign in 30 days, as I said. And in addition to the $83 million of student scholarships, we have commitments of over $65 million for support and endowments for faculty, recruiting and retaining faculty through endowed professorships and endowed chairs. Our goal there was to double the number of endowments for faculty. We've gone from 52 to 118, so well over our double, $65 million. And that's really important, Fran, because it gives us a competitive edge to be able to go out and recruit and retain the very best faculty. Third, we've raised nearly $100 million for new facilities or restoration of facilities on campus. If you've walked our campus recently, you know that it's been largely transformed.
Indeed. So tell us about some of those transformations. People have been there for a while.
We have had, together with our partners in the University of Vermont Medical Center, approximately $400 million of construction going on in my 7 years. That has transformed the campus. It really is not about the bricks and mortar that are so obviously different. It's about the student and faculty and staff success when you have facilities that support and encourage excellence and enhancing quality. We've been working on 20 buildings since I've been there through the campaign. 19 have been completed, either new buildings or restoration of historic buildings, and as you may know, just 2 weeks ago our Board of Trustees formally and finally approved a plan for a new multi-purpose center on campus, a conversation that's been going on in Vermont for at least 25 or 30 years. So we're very happy. That's the 20th building that I've been working on, and the 21st one is a new research complex for our medical school and our Department of Psychology, which the board will take up in its fall meeting. So we're very happy with the transformation through the campaign.
So other core university functions that these facilities and open spaces provide?
Yes. So for a couple of examples, at my very first board meeting in October of 2012, I urged the board to consider with me to build a whole new STEM complex, science, technology, engineering, and math. Our laboratories were very outdated, some of them dating back to World War II. And we have now completed the last building in that complex. Will be open in 2 weeks. Our STEM complex, $104 million project, largest in the history, our 228-year history of the university. That's one example, and a very important one, of our students and our faculty having the very best laboratories and classrooms for teaching science, technology, engineering, and math. We had many students coming to UVM that came out of high schools with far superior laboratories, science laboratories. So we're very, very pleased about that transformation. And again, it's about the student engagement and success in learning in those classrooms and labs.
Well, let's talk about student success, which is another major thing. You wanted successful students.
Yes.
So what does a successful UVM student look like, and what does it take to make that happen?
The key to a successful student at UVM, and I think generally across higher education today, really is having that student being as engaged as possible on the campus. And by that I mean academically engaged, culturally engaged, positive social opportunities for the students. The more students are engaged in the community, in the core of the educational and cultural experience, the better off they'll do. So we have focused on making sure that students are graduating on time, and we know from all of the research and data that the more engaged the student is, the busier, the more engaged, they will graduate on time and will be more successful. All the research shows that.
Are you doing better in your numbers of graduates?
Yes, we are, both in retention, which is from first year to second year. Vermont students, for example, retain over 90%. They come back and they finish on time in 4 years. The expectation, Fran, of finishing on time for Vermonters and all of our students is very important, because there's a private or a personal gain. The longer it takes you to get through college, the more expensive it is. And college today is expensive. So we want to hold down and moderate that cost for students. Our top priority of affordability that I mentioned in our strategic action plan as well as in our campaign. And the more we can keep students on track to graduate in 4 years, and the expectation of mom and dad and the students that will happen and can happen, they are now graduating at a higher rate, particularly Vermont students graduating at a higher rate at UVM. They're in the job market much more quickly. We have 93% either in the job market, choice of career, or going to graduate school, which is very high national statistics. So that's a measure of statistics. Graduating on time, lowering the cost of attendance, making sure that whatever debt, if any, is lower and is manageable, and having a great education as they move from their teenage years to young adult years.
So clearly many successes. Surely there must be some ups and downs. What would you say was your greatest challenge of your presidency?
I think the greatest challenge that I received when I came in, inherited if you will, is the financial challenges. The University of Vermont and it only gets 3% of our operating budget from the state of Vermont. Only 3%, which means that 97% to support the university and the success of our students doesn't come from the state. It comes from private donations, it comes from grants, it comes from student tuition. So the challenges that I faced and continue, quite frankly, are when you're the lowest or second lowest funded state in the United States through the legislature, how do you make sure that you keep enhancing quality and the quality of the experience and the engagement? And at the same time, when you've got constrained financial budgets, and a requirement that we have a balanced budget every year, which we do.
You talk about the more engaged students are, the better. Well, you had some students that were very engaged
Yes.
for a while and, you know, hit the headlines. What about those students that were very engaged and upset, and how you moved through that? Was that a bit of a challenge, or was that this is status quo for universities these days?
Well, in society today at large, we have conversations nationally, as we know, and internationally, that can be more coarse than we're used to, less civil. And this carries over on college campuses as well. The discourse is different today. And the opportunity for us is to be able to reach out and trying to communicate as positively and effectively as possible. And I think we've done that. And in fact, as I look back on reflecting a bit, I think our UVM model has really been a model for the country. When you have challenges, whether they be financial or whether they be value-oriented or goal-oriented, the best way is to meet them directly with the best communication, attempt to work things out, and I think we've done that at UVM.
And quickly, what's ahead for you?
Well, as I said, I will be stepping out in the next 30 days after 7 years. The board asked me how long my commitment would be, and I said, well, you want me to come in and do a comprehensive campaign, and we've got a lot of opportunities here at the university. And so when I was hired, I told them I would stay for 7 years, finish the comprehensive campaign, and we're doing it right on schedule.
Okay.
I have the wonderful opportunity to take a research sabbatical leave, and I'm going off to Cambridge University in England for the next academic year and write a book on First Amendment speech.
And then you're back.
And then I'm coming back and joining the faculty full-time to teach and write. It's my first passion in life.
President Sullivan, so great to talk with you today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Fran.
And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard.